Alright, so Liquid is potentially about to kick Cadian, and to celebrate the most overrated clutch of all time, we're going to take a look at Liquid versus Astralis, as they finally can beat them apparently now that they have Cadian on the roster and Astralis is not very good anymore. It's crazy how that works, but I was told, although I didn't verify that skullz gets 1 kill in the first half, and then somehow actually pulls together a pretty effective map. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm not going to be focusing on skullz specifically. I'm going to take a look at plenty of different players. And really interesting, because I just looked at the pistol run. I was like, is the pistol run worth watching for this game? And I looked at this pistol run because, I don't know, pistol runs are usually pretty not interesting. But this is a pistol run. This is a carbon copy of a G2 pistol round I was looking at when I made my pistol video, the keys to success on pistol rounds, and this is something G2 love to do, except instead of twists, they had Nico. Basically, P250T stairs, if they ran down mid, if the CTs rushed mid, Nico would kill them. If they went banana, Nico would kill them, and if they didn't go anywhere, Nico would walk up towards, I'm not sure if they finished quite like this, but they finished in this a very similar way. And it really is kind of like an aim-based play. And I noticed this a little bit from Liquid recently in general, but this is not like random. They're not like pugging it out and just hoping to find kills, even though it might not on the surface look like it's a little hard to tell exactly what the strat is. The point is you're playing together, but you're playing off of the first contact from the player and assuming that you're going to get a trade off of either the P250 is going to get a first kill, which is really the hope, but the other option is that P250 might not get the first kill, but you can make sure you're getting the trade and plenty of room while doing so. I remember back in the day in like 2018, 2019, when Liquid was doing really well, I always felt like despite their aim, their pistols kind of sucked because they would play too safe. They would play like stacks, waiting for pushes and all this type of stuff. And it felt like it was very reactionary, basically saying, you can do whatever you want. We're just going to play safe and then we're going to react to it and we're going to be able to out-aim you. And they never really did that well on pistols. I much prefer that type of pistol round where there's some risk, but it makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of the same thing that Twist is doing here. I actually really like this type of play. The thing to keep in mind is that like this isn't necessarily something you really want to be doing at a pug, but it makes a lot of sense. So if we look at exactly what's happening, Twist looks like he's completely alone. And that's fair because he's completely alone. So it looks exactly like it is, but there's logic behind it, right? Generally, we're expecting the CTs to be on no armor eco in this round, so a MAC-10's almost certainly going to be able to get one, but you're making sure that Liquid's on, they've got pretty good positions where they can react to anything. They've got someone kind of moving into apartments, so if skullz dies, then they know that there's weaknesses either towards Arch or towards banana. Arch often has some weaknesses on these sorts of rounds because teams might stack B or they might stack apartments. So there's often a gap in Arch, which is exactly what Twist found. And with the information he gets, the key is not to overreact, not to like force things. This is where people go really wrong on these sorts of plays. One guy moves forward, he gets himself a kill, and then he dies, and then their team is like, holy shit, we lost a player, we got to get something done. You don't actually, because on the T side specifically, the CTs are generally going to have to get aggressive. They're going to be looking for a little bit of information, like what the fuck was that? What are they doing? We have to figure something out here. And that's basically what we just saw. Like Liquid's not overreacting. They're not freaking out. They're just allowing Astralis to look for a little bit of information, and they have players in good positions and with good aim, helps a lot, ready to stop those pushes from actually happening and getting anything done. And of course, Liquid was set up there. They had 4 players in mid. They were set up there that they could, at some point, very easily hit into the bomb site if nobody pushed anything. And look, there's some risk to be had there, right? Because Twists could go in, not get a kill, and die. Or Astralis, maybe they pushed banana and then rotated all 5 players back to B or back to A. But I feel like it's really important to note that you will always lose rounds, right? Like even the best anti-eco team of all time, the best second round win team of all time, or anti-force or whatever, generally these teams are around like 80%. So the best of all time, probably like 85, 80, 88 maybe % win rate. there's just no way to get to 100%. It's simply never going to happen. And I feel like I see teams I've coached, I often have to say this because you have to accept that sometimes you're just going to lose, and that's fine. When you try and make it so that you never lose ever, you actually, it's a not a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like ironic a little bit that if you try to make it so you never lose on anti-eco, you actually end up losing a fuckload of anti-ecos, because those plays that you make to be like, oh, we're never going to lose a player here, you just end up running into stacks more often. Players will try and overcommit to prevent the CTs from picking up a gun. They'll try and force trades that just don't make sense. They'll do lots of plays that seem like smart plays, and they're made for good reason, but they're just not. Oh my god, what is going on? But they actually end. Oh my god, millimeters. They actually end up hurting your win rate overall, because sometimes you just have to accept that there is a small chance that things go wrong. Maybe, you know, we just get out-aimed, whatever. But most often we're going to win. And that's why you're going to see very often on these sorts of anti-force buys, anti-ecos, pro teams they'll take gunfights a little more than even some, like, you know, mid-level players will do. Because if your opponents can't retrieve your gun, it's okay to die. Like, if you die with an AK and your opponents just won't be able to get it because they would have to, like, push down mid to get it or something like that, it's actually not a big deal to die. And if it's a high percentage gunfight, go for it, right? That's one of my pet peeves, is people raging at their teammates for dying to a pistol. And it's like, man, I took like a 90% win rate gunfight, right? Like, that's a gunfight I should be taking. And if I die, they can't take my gun, right? Like, that's... You're going to have people disagree with this, like, not disagree, but varying degrees of how much you know, how much advantage you need. But generally, I feel like the average player really misunderstands how you should play anti-ecos, in my opinion. So here, a couple pretty solid anti-ecos mean Liquid have a stupid amount of money in the bank. Like, already a ridiculous amount of money in the bank. There's a lot of different ways I've seen teams control banana. That smoke that Yakindar threw, by the way, very important. If you're not throwing that, you need to be throwing that, because that's gonna smoke off the molly without like smoking yourself off, right? So, sorry, Yakindar is not getting mollied out here because he threw that molly, because he threw that smoke. It's just barely around that corner, and it gets both sides. Liquid, a team looking like they want to be fighting in banana early, makes a lot of sense, especially when you have tons of money. You get a little bit of read on what your opponents are doing, how they want to play towards banana. But not only that, but you're forcing a lot of utility when it might be around. I mean, they did force, so they should have a pretty solid buy, but it might be around where they don't have the best buy ever. And you put a little bit of pressure there, and they could go back and take mid control, which is standard. That's like very, very common. Or they can just do this, where they're just setting straight up for an exec immediately afterwards. And usually you depend this on how much utility your opponents threw on that banana take. If they threw a ton of utility, you can go for a really coordinated exec. But they only used one smoke. Oh, yeah, okay. You've got the nade through the smoke. That's the push through. And that's the death. This is what I was talking about. I mean, like, you know, you can make a good play, but sometimes you just got to accept, like, you know, the play can only be so good, right? I wish they had an extra flash. Did they not flash over right at the end there? The stair must have turned from this, right? Surely there's a flash. Oh, the flash just gets CT? Oh, they like triple flash in towards CT. Is that really what they do? They throw 3 flashes in the same spot. Okay, one of them landed in CT, but it just doesn't blind the player. And Yakindar, I think he had an advantage there. I mean, Stair was back turned, spun back around and killed Yakindar. That's just, I think that's a gunfight he should be winning most of the time. But then they're in pretty good spots here, but this is all going to depend on that device kill. Yeah, device dies there, and CT's probably just save, like insta-turn to save. Device gets that kill, now he can start working his way out. And with no utility left, because they use so much utility on the actual bomb site take, it ends up becoming kind of awkward. And then you have this super late flank from Stown, which your team will certainly troll they will trash talk you for flanks that late. But you'll see that flanks that late somewhat, not often, but like a reasonable amount of the time, you'll see flanks that late in the pro scene, because your opponents are like so ready for the early flank. You just wait out that flank, and if your teammates on the other side have good pressure, they can get a lot done. Anyways, sorry. So a lot of teams are going to play outside of banana, and some teams are going to play inside banana. It really depends on your opponents, just how you feel comfortable. I really like how FaZe, they play outside of banana a lot more often than they play inside. I really feel like this duel that Yakindar takes there is really uncomfortable, and I feel like almost nobody wins that a good percent of the time. But if you have a player that's comfortable with that, of course, it's not a bad fight. In pugs, generally, I'd lean much more towards playing in banana, because you're not seeing this level of banana take with correct utility and all that. But outside of banana also makes a lot of sense, because the mere fact that you can molly both sides now from top banana means you can molly both sides from bottom banana as well, which means taking full banana control is a lot less effective. It feels a lot less useful. And that means that you can really easily turn around and retake banana without too much concern, without, too huge of a risk. But anyways, inside, outside banana really doesn't mean too much. You're going to play it based on how your opponents are playing. But we've already got the CTs just gamble stacking towards A. And this little aggressive, kind of risky play that Cadian made, just almost seemingly a nothing play, right? So Yakindar dies, Cadian comes forward, the smoke lands, he doesn't back up immediately. Now this is obviously pretty risky, right? If he gets just flashed, he could, the thing is he's in the smoke, right? So he gets flashed, he's gonna run away, but the smoke is not very deep, right? The smoke is like here. So if he gets flashed, he's gonna try and run away, and he should probably die a lot of the time, depending on the timing. If the flash is like perfectly timed, but not all flashes are going to get him, and not all players coming around that corner are going to be ready to kill him as he's backing through the smoke. So it's a slight risk, but like not crazy. And because of that play, they're sitting around here, and it's like nobody's jump spotting, nobody pushed down, nothing else going on. Odds pretty high, I would say, pretty high that they're stacking A. But again, I mentioned this in my last review. If you didn't see it on Dust 2, actually that'll be my second last review. Oh my god, what a clear. Teams typically don't play nearly as static as you'd expect. Stacking A, smart play. You're 3v4. You're probably not going to win if they go B. But you know how else you could win is if you go for a flank before they actually exec. And that's why timing is so important, because Liquid don't have all the time in the world. Even though it's Astralis stacked up on A, they don't have infinite time, because Astralis eventually is going to get a little bit aggressive here and look for something. And that is a really nice clear. I've seen people lose that engagement before, but then they figure out that the stack is on towards or the Liquid's heading for the B hit. Liquid, they still have to respect this. They don't actually know that Astralis is full stacked, and they're, oh my god. The flank actually comes in, but they, oh my god. It's going backwards. It's going backwards. What is happening? Dude, if Liquid just killed Down, they could have just immediately ran back to A. It only takes like 20 seconds to get from like top B to A site. It's actually an incredibly surprisingly low amount of time to go from like either site in this map. It's top mid to B and plant the bomb is 17 seconds, or it was 17 seconds in CSGO. Oh my god. Twist just saves their asses. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know why. How much time did they have? Did they not have enough time? So there's the flank. Yeah, the problem is I don't know if this is very much cutting it. Like, could they get back to A? 22 seconds. If they kill Down instantly, maybe that would be like millisecond perfect. So I can see why they continued forward. That's just super awkward. I would have expected maybe they even turn around and try and kill him, but I can see exactly why they played like they did. It's really not crazy at all. They just took too long to hit B. That was just like, they took forever. It's Down. You'd think it was a group stage. It's Down. Oh my god. What a shot. But Twist. skullz has 2 kills, dude. Who told me he got 1 kill in the whole first half? What the fuck? Is this the right game? Hold up. Liquid versus Astralis. Did I get the wrong game? Am I reviewing the wrong game? I'm reviewing the wrong game, aren't I? Hold up. Detailed stats. What was the score? Was it 4-1? Did it start out? Astralis was up. This is the wrong game. Okay, so we don't know how this one ends. I think this is the second last time Astralis played Liquid. This isn't the one where Twists had 120 ADR or something. Anyways, playing against pistols again. The main thing is just to have a good variety in sight hits, right? In setups, right? So sometimes you're going kind of like spread out. No, I'm not spread out. Sometimes you're delaying, waiting for pushes, and then sometimes you can go for this type of play. Even against pistols, it's important to have some level of variety because this isn't just pistols. This is going to be pistols, armor. It's going to have some utility. And you do have to worry because occasionally you're going to see CT sides. They're going to have like 5 smokes and they're just going to try and delay you. And if you wait too long, just waiting for pushes, then you can end up in a spot where you're just kind of stuck behind smokes and you eventually have to run through a smoke. Especially if your opponents start to get a read on just the timings. One of the things that happens with a lot of mid-level like coordinated teams, they have very consistent timings where it's like, okay, on anti-ecos, we hit A or B at like 1 minute. That's like, we hit A at like 1 minute and we hit B at like 40 seconds, right? And so your opponents can just be like, oh, they're not hitting A at a minute? Okay, well, they're going B now, and we're just going to stack B, like that type of thing. So having some variance in the timing of the hits is really important. And that, I feel like that was one of those situations where Astralis just hit every fucking headshot and just... that one kind of felt unavoidable a little bit. They just, like... The bomb got killed, like, spammed through a smoke, and then because they didn't get the bomb quickly enough, and I don't think they should have had utility to re-smoke that, though. Maybe there is something they could have done if they could have re-smoked coffins, but maybe they tried to duel it, and then they did just get dookied on, just like one by one. It's just an anti-eco, so this is like Glock anti-eco. Main goal, Glock anti-eco. Draw out as much utility as possible. That usually means just chill, especially if your opponents don't know you're going to be on that much of a save, which Astralis might not have known that save was going to be that, like a full save. They're still going to end up having to use their utility, and that's the best thing you can do, because you can get a couple kills, but a full set of utility is what, like 600 plus 800. So it's 1400 for a full set of utility. I mean, 3 sets of utility is the same as 1 death, right? Roughly. So just drawing out utility is such an underrated factor. Underrated by general players, I feel like. Pros really, I think, understand. So here, Liquid got quite a bit of banana control. Astralis did not use all of their utility, but they used quite a bit. So you can still draw something out, but oh yeah, they used some of it to retake banana. So Liquid's going to go back and like fake the retake, right? Because otherwise Astralis can hold on to that smoke for the rest of the round. And if they can hold on to the smoke for the rest of the round, then Liquid, in theory, wouldn't be able to come back and exec. We wouldn't have to worry too much about it. So then, this is a actual coordinated push. Yekindar first in, full white on bro. I feel like these types of like full coordinated, like bang bang pops onto the site. Not enough teams are like good at these anymore. That was clean. If you look, like, let's look at this from Astralis side. You really got it's hard to practice against these types. Oh my god, I just rewinded twice. It's hard to practice against these types of hits without playing against these kinds of hits. And a lot of teams don't really run these too often. So you get kind of, used to not having to deal with them. So, oh my god, Stound just gets spammed straight through and then device in the middle of nowhere. That is a clean sight hit. And that's what happens when, so I talk about this a million times before, but like, if you don't have banana control and you don't have mid control, you're pretty much in a losing situation in the round because you have no information on what's going on. And even with a fairly good setup here, I mean, they're not like in crazy positions, but I mean, sorry, Device is like Moto, so he's in a pretty good spot. But it's pretty easy with some really well-placed flashes, some good utility if you've got utility left over, to do that type of hit. I mean, easy. I'm lying. It's not easy. But with a good amount of practice, it's not technically fundamentally hard. It's just you have to know the execute. In pugs, I feel like you get into that situation and your team's like, guys, what do we do? And you're looking at each other like, guys, what do we do? I have no idea what we're supposed to do here. And then you end up running in, you just die to one guy in pit or something. The importance of knowing actual execs. Is that a double molly take? No, they just throw the one molly. And Astralis have the response with the flash pig. So they're actually completely ready for that. This is a spot that is underutilized too. He's just ready. Stairs just ready. That molly comes in, dodge, flash comes out, spin around. It's Device that gets the kill, of course. And then he smokes himself off. You got a 5v4. You're feeling pretty good. Now, oh my god, Twist is a fucking demon, dude. FaZe wouldn't be coming top 2 in every event if Twist was still on a team. They'd be winning. Oh my god. Twist is a fucking demon. And this isn't even the game where he goes like 120 ADR, is it? This must not be. Yeah, so, timing. So with that play, you know that there's 3 players B, and Stare is sticking around because Liquid was putting a lot of pressure. And there's no reason that Liquid couldn't have continued up Banana and still tried to force him to get the kill on the 2 players close until that smoke from Yabi actually bloomed, right? Once that bloomed, that's the moment when Liquid kind of has to be either hitting A or just canceling and delaying. Now, Liquid has to make the decision right now. Basically, at this exact moment, Liquid has to make the decision. Can we get to A before their rotate gets to A? And if the answer is yes, then they're going to try and book it off middle and try and get to A. Now, you can go up truck to try and hit the site, or you can go up arch. And so it's actually kind of an awkward situation, thinking about like the situations you want to be putting yourself in when you're going for a 3B stack. Because in theory, if you're 3B stacked and your opponents hit A, you want to be somewhere like pit and apartments, or you want to be somewhere like site and balcony, or site and pit. You know, like this is generally you want to have 2 people in these 3 spots more often than not. However, if your opponents know, like basically, if your opponents know that whenever you're 3B, you're in 2 of these 3 spots, they can just book it up arch very freely, and then they can take over this space here, like Twist did on the second round. They can take over this whole space, and that can make it really awkward. It can basically cut off your entire rotates, and especially if you get like a T in library, then the CTs can't rotate. So this whole site is sectioned off, and then you can take your time clearing out these with like almost a full exec. This isn't necessarily like particularly relevant just to this exact round, but just the strategic idea behind what situations you want to be. Because I've seen a lot of people like in this round, I could guarantee you there were people in Twitch chat going like, they're 3B, why was he arch or whatever like that. Because in theory, you just leave arch because Device or Stare should be the first rotate, and they should get over to arch in time to help support, or maybe not in time, but you don't need to hold arch. It's not the bomb site, right? You need to hold lane because it's much closer to the site. But you have to have a balance, right? There has to be some split, otherwise your opponents can start to actually exploit you. So, in this case, they're playing the crossfire in mid. Stown gets fucking owned. And then they hear Bro on the other side, but because of the molly they tossed under, they know he's stuck here. I'm surprised they don't right-click a flash into the smoke. That feels like very standard, and that would have just won them the round. Yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't... I guess they didn't think the molly was up for that long. If they really thought about it, though, that molly kept Bro completely trapped, so he couldn't really move. And if they just right-click a flash into the smoke, and this is something you do a lot on B on Inferno, there's a smoke here, you right-click a flash into the smoke, and then you nade it out and you go through, or you might just go straight through. You do it on Anubis as well if you're going A, you know, if someone smokes you off. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't just right-click a flash into the smoke there before they came through, or as they came through, and it basically would have guaranteed a trade. But nice little play by Cadian, getting like looping back around, getting the angle on a truck, and they got plenty of time, so they don't need to rush anything. And Cadian even has a flash, as long as they don't get that kill to Device. I was thinking coming up arch or coming up truck, but now Device going through apartments. Not a bad angle, and it's tough spot to check. Cadian might have heard that scope in. Yeah, and then Device wasn't ready for that. I mean, as more and more, if Device lands that shot, then you end up in a 1v1, and then it gets kind of hectic. But Device misses that shot, then you know where he is. All Device really had there was the element of surprise, and that's kind of what you have to do. I mean, in that type of situation, Device had 10 health, right? He's not winning by playing with his teammate there necessarily. One of the main ways you're going to win when you have 10 health, you just have to take some risks. And that's a pretty solid risk. You go through apartments, you hope to catch someone off guard, kind of look in the wrong direction. Makes perfect sense. So here, they're yet again going to be setting up early towards banana, and I don't want to try and psychoanalyze anything, but when you get destroyed going B on your previous anti-eco, there does seem to be some pretty good logic to go B on the next anti-eco. I mean, not that you want to be like too readable like that, but if Astralis is thinking of anything, they might be thinking, well, they're not going to go B right now because we just destroyed them on the last anti-eco, and why would they go B again? That's my Device impression. That's what Device sounds like in my head. But it is somewhat true that, a good B exec, if your opponents aren't utilizing, if they aren't stacking smokes on you, a good B exec is still very fucking hard to deal with. And it's tough because you really don't want to be in apartments, right? Apartments is like the no-no position on anti-ecos, but if you want to hit A, it's kind of hard not to go into apartments. So you're taking a risk either way you do things, to be honest. Standard molly off the wall. And then Yukindar's going to do the nice little game is broken thing where he's like in the front of the smoke, but not getting hit by the molly. Man, Liquid is just running it down on banana. And Liquid's doing plenty of damage. Like, they're doing lots of damage, but the problem is they're taking even more damage. Oh my god, they are chunked down. Actually, they're taking about the same amount of damage. But it still feels pretty crap to have like every option in the book and you send 3 players banana. This is why I hate, like, if I'm playing matchmaking, there's this weird tendency as it gets to like lower levels that people are like, let's just go 5 banana, yay! And then all that means is that every nade they throw is gonna be more and more effective. Of course, Liquid's doing it for good reason. They're like, if things go well there, they're probably just going to turn that into an immediate exec. And you do have to be able to do that sometimes. Because the problem is, you have to think about it like, if you're never stacking like heavy towards B, and that doesn't mean you need 3 players here, right? You could have 3 players here and 1 in banana and 1 throwing utility or something. I don't know. Whatever. You don't have to have all your players in banana. But if you never have players ready, where it's like, we took banana and then 10 seconds later we exec'd, then why are your opponents going to be smoking this off, right? Like, why are they going to be smoking this off if they could just set an opper here, and it's like, okay, well, they don't exec until 30 seconds left every time, so we're just going to sit an opper here, and then we'll pivot a player over here later. Right? Or like, we'll sit an opper here and then 30 seconds left we'll smoke and the opper will be just fine with the smoke down, right? There does need to be a level of like threat. You do need to be able to threaten that you can actually hit the bomb site shortly after taking banana. Otherwise, it throws off kilter your entire like playbook. Yeah. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons that Liquid's already looking to save here. That's interesting because they could definitely buy next round, but I think they don't want to give Astralis AKs and they don't want to give them the op. And it looks like they just kind of ended up in a spot where there was like 20 seconds left and it's like, we're never fucking winning this. So it's like, okay, well, it's just not to give them the guns. That makes sense. But like when you look at pugs, like a lot of the time what happens is opponents will find like a situation where they realize that you're just not able to deal with. So like Mirage. Sometimes teams will just start giving up mid, and then the T side will be able to take mid, and it's like, wait, what? I don't know. This thinking Pug specifically, teams will be like, wait, hold up. I don't know how to take a bomb site from middle. And the same thing can be true of banana. Like sometimes CT teams will just give up banana control, and the Ts are just like, I don't know how to take B. Or one of the things will be they know how to take B, but they don't know how to take B when their opponents haven't wasted any utility on banana, right? Like when they actually have full utility, they don't know how to actually do anything. Man, Liquid is going super heavy on banana. And I mean, it's mostly going well for them, although they're just taking tons and tons and tons of damage. This is the importance of like good nade timing, where you don't just toss all of your nades early, or you don't hold on to them too long. You kind of pepper them throughout the round, especially HE grenades, because if you throw too many of them too early, then your opponents can like sit outside banana for 10 seconds and then go in banana. Kind of destroy them. So Liquid's going to try and make contact on B, and at the same time, this is when skullz is probably going to come out apartments. I haven't seen this round. It's not. Don't call that like a crazy prediction. I haven't. It's just obvious. Sorry, I don't mean it's obvious. That's the type of thing that you should be doing yourself, or you should be expecting from good pro teams, right? You put pressure on one side, and you're looking for pressure on the other side. I actually noticed that a lot on Anubis, where you'll see really good teams will do something like put pressure A while they're like doubled up ready for that B push, because you're basically prompting a reaction and then being ready for the reaction, which is a little different than what Liquid did there, where they like made pressure B and then they tried to walk out apartments. And that's not something that will necessarily specifically work in any level of Pug without without kind of prepping your opponents earlier in the half, where Liquid have been really strong on B. They're just pounding B over and over and over and over and over. Astralis is going to start to be ready to rotate over to the B side, and that's when that type of play works. Because if Liquid had just been getting dumpstered on B over and over and over, and then they go for a B hit, and skullz like, yeah, they're making contact B, time to walk out apartments, and the A players are just like, yo, we're just, we were never planning on moving. Like we're just sitting here, we're hanging out. Oh, you just walked into me? That's great. Thanks for the free kill. The context is important. And you know what other context is important? Why does the ambient sound? Why are we next to a fucking highway, dude? We're supposed to be in Italy. Where's the highway, man? Why is there a fucking moped? It's what? Why don't we just have the fucking ukulele or whatever? This thing. Why don't we just have this? Beautiful. Classic Inferno. Why do we need anything else? Every time I hear the cars, like the highway right next to fucking T-spawn on Inferno, it actually triggers me. I want to uninstall CS every time I hear that thing. It is the most annoying thing in the entire game. I don't know why, to be honest. It's really not that big a deal, but it really does bother me so much, dude. It's like it is emblematic of every problematic ambient sound in the entire game. It's like that helicopter on Overpass or whatever, like the train. Oh my, there's just yeah. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is the other form of T-pistol. It too works quite effectively. I don't know. Both forms of T-pistols, I'm talking about like referring back to Liquid's T-pistol, where it was very much more loose in form, very much like look for contact, make trades, just play more individualistic, which is Liquid's T-pistol is strong, but it is one of those pistols where it's like that can definitely lose if you just play teams that have better aimers. Like if Liquid plays FaZe, or they play G2, or they play Vitality, or they play Mouse, or they play Ents, or they play Aurora, or Bait, or any team with Smooya on it, they're probably going to lose when they make that play because those are just simply better aimers. M80, good example. Nouns, Wicked, another good example of teams that could out-aim Liquid. Okay, they're just going to lose a lot of those, right? But that's fine. You're not going to win every pistol anyways. This pistol will also lose to certain things, but it'll be different things than no, actually, if you get out-aimed, you're probably going to lose almost any pistol. But it'll lose slightly differently. It'll lose in a slightly different manner. Okay. I don't know. I didn't need to pause to make that meme. I could have kept going and still made the exact same meme. I'm sorry. See? Just out-aimed. Out-aimed by Device. Isn't Device like 40? He won 5 majors, man. Huh! Clean. Do you save here if you're Cadian? No. He doesn't have armor. Please, Cadian. Please don't save. Please don't save, Cadian. Cadian, please don't save. Please die, Cadian. Please die. Please, God, die. Why? Why, Cadian? Oh, thank God. Device, thank you. Oh my God, Device, yes. Okay, simple. Listen, if you don't know, if you know, you know, okay? But when the bomb explodes, you get 1250 across the team. 1250, right? That's basically a kill per player. That's 250 per player. So letting the bomb explode when you have a pistol and no armor doesn't make any fucking sense, okay? Because your death is worth 300, which means you give him a 950. This is the dumb. I understand, guys. Like, you're like, dude, you're rolling your eyes like, boo. Who cares? It's $900. It actually does matter a lot because AK armor is 3,700. And instead of getting 3,300, you get 3,550. Or is it 3,500 instead of 3,250? Yeah, I think you get 3,500 instead of 3,250. So instead of 2 kills to get AK full armor, you need 1, which is actually kind of significant. That means a much higher percent of the T side can get an AK and full armor than otherwise. But I mean, also other things. But it's just it tilts me because it's so obvious, and there's no reason not to do it. There's no excuse, right? That's what bothers me. It's not that big a deal. It really isn't. It's just free. It's just free value. So, and then it's just being given up for no reason. I just hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I can't tell you how much I hate it. I don't know why I took 2 rounds to explain how much I fucking hate that, but it really does trigger me. And then Device just shouldn't have killed Cadian. Device should have just waited a second to kill Cadian. By the way, I rolled my own eyes at this. That I even went into this. I rolled my own eyes because I know how dumb it is. But there is an argument. If you have armor, technically it's worth less than the bomb explosion. However, there's a good argument that armor on CT second round having body armor saved is worth more than the actual monetary value of the armor, right? Especially if you have 100 armor, being able to upgrade that to head armor and have a much stronger buy on second round if you're going for a force. Very good justification for that being worth more than just the 650. So I don't criticize people for that. I criticize them for when they save like a kit, or in Cadian's case, nothing. Okay, so there was a force last round. Astralis are definitely playing these anti-ecos differently. They kind of went for an exec. This time they are going to do, they're going to do the classic. The throwback. The classic. Oh my God, Naf, what are you doing? That's hilarious. Okay, they're doing the classic in that you lead in with the SMG. How does Device not notice him? you lead in with the SMG, and if it's a stack, you go the other way. But the problem with this, it seems so obvious, right? This play seems so obvious. It's like, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that every round, guys? You just lead in with the SMG, and then if it's a stack, you go the other way. Well, because it's not always a stack, right? Now you have 3B. You can't immediately go the other way, or you're gambling. You're like, oh, are they stacking? Because this could be 5B. There's nothing that just happened says there isn't 5B, right? So what happened? You actually just lost device for nothing. And Stown certainly could have just died there, and this round immediately fell all the way apart. They'd be 3v5, and not only that, but Liquid could get aggressive and steal the AK back potentially, right? They could even get aggressive and try and get the next kill. So that's why I'm saying there's downsides to every way you can play anti-ecos. There is no perfect anti-eco. Every anti-eco will have some amount of loss percent. You just have to accept it, you know? I like that Liquid rotates back into this hold. Astralis could kind of Astralis could read the room and tell that a rotate off was happening. I hate dualies on anything other than piss around. I really don't understand why people buy them. They're just so much worse than the P250, in my opinion. I can see, like, they're cool. They shoot really quick, but I can't. Oh my god, Cadian. Oh my god, Cadian. I guess he was just trying to pick up the FAMAS, right, and run away with it. Yeah. Only the FAMAS was the Galil. It's too bad. He was. I understand what he was trying to do there. He got the timing wrong in the smoke. It's unfortunate. Yeah. Forgot what I was talking about. Okay. Are they doing the double deep molly? So this is actually a play I've seen Astralis run. Oh, they're doing the roast, the barbecue. I believe a team I was on called this the. Yeah, I think it was called barbecue banana. It's really a pretty solid play. I mean, you can see what they do. It's not complicated, but I'll just show you what it is. You molly. So if you strafe a little wide for this molly on T stairs, so if you strafe just a little wider than normal, you can get a molly that gets all of T stairs really easily. And then you have another deep molly, and then you have this molly. I've seen Astralis do that with 2 mollies instead of 3, because if you do that with 2 mollies, you can nade stack either side. And it honestly feels more impactful than the third molly, because that third molly, Astralis is ready and they just smoke it. And then it just ends up being not that impactful. But if you get the timing on the push right, which they kind of did, it did almost catch Astralis in a spot where they were either fighting or smoking off the molly. And that timing is actually really significant to catch any but the very most coordinated teams, or even the most coordinated teams when they're not, you know, in the perfect situation where it's like you catch them in the timing where the molly just exploded and they either have the option of smoking themselves off, in which case they're in a terrible spot to fight because they're smoked off and then you're already on top of them, or they don't smoke themselves off, in which case they die to the molly. Or afterwards, with that player pushing down, it looks like part of the strat was if that player dies, then the nade afterwards can be dunked directly on wherever that player that he died to was. Really like this play from Liquid. They just took a ton of shit on B, and they know that they used a ton of utility, and if they just played completely standard, they'd have a chance at the round. It's not like Liquid wouldn't have had a chance. They were 4v4, right? But instead of just playing the chance to be in the right situation, because it's the first gun round, or yeah, it's their first gun round? Why is it round 4 and there's their first gun round? Oh yeah, it's their first gun round, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. First gun round is the most important in terms of starting to build up money, and that means that winning with 3 or more players alive becomes this insanely important aspect. And it's funny because we saw the same thing from Liquid, where Astralis was like, stacked A, they got aggressive, looked for something, and then Liquid was still setting up B, because you have to set up B. And not only do they have to set up B, because they have to set up B, they have to use a ton of utility to take B. And look, Naf's already here. They've just planting the bomb. Naf's already on the flank. That's how effective this stuff is. And you have to have some level of like variation. Like sometimes you just have to sit A, wait, and then like pounce once that reaggression comes in. That is something you have to do sometimes, or you at least have to have a player You know, it would be nice, like, if Astralis had a player there kind of sitting, waiting, then they might, you know, know that that aggression is actually coming in. But if you'll recall, Liquid did have a player, skullz, in Boiler on one round. That player died, and they still got flanked, like, before they could get the exec off. Because B does take quite a while to clear. That's a really good nade timing, by the way. It seems really small, but if you play against, so a lot of teams, like most teams now, will molly car, wait, and then remolly it when the molly bottom banana comes. So what this team bottom banana is going to do is they're going to wait out this molly, and then they're going to want to retake it. So when that second molly comes in, that's when you nade, because as that molly's coming down, that's kind of like the safest timing for the tees to come through bottom banana is typically right as that molly's coming down. So again, a great timing to nade it then is right as that molly's coming down. But Liquid threw 3 nades and one of them did catch, which is all you really need, to be honest. Oh, you can almost rotate it off. Yeah, they go for the re-aggress top banana. So basically, you notice Astralis wasted all this time waiting out the bottom banana smoke. Then they walked up, they're starting to set up, and then the smoke molly comes down. This is why you need these plays where sometimes you're like, you know, changing up the timing. Not that Astralis isn't. I'm just saying this is why those plays are important to, because if they were running it at the right time, it works out really well. I realize now that this is not a round where that would matter, because if they were setting up right behind that smoke, like if they were walking up, setting up, that's probably one of those rounds where they actually get completely cucked by that. And maybe they could have been a little faster. I don't really think so. I don't know. Anyways, Astralis just come back. Astralis just give up and come back mid. They're like, okay, well, because Liquid has another util set, and I think they realized that they threw 3 nades. That's what it is. Liquid threw 3 nades of banana, which means pretty good fucking chance they have 3 utility sets. There might be like other tells, like maybe Liquid typically only throws that retake set when they have 3 sets of util. But after 3 nades and that extra util set, it's like, oh shit, they probably have a third util set, so let's go back A. Would make a lot of sense. Nice little nade from Twist there just to slow things down. I don't think that nade was necessarily like supposed to do tons of damage, but it's supposed to. It's such an underrated aspect of nades. It's just that like it slows down that player's progression. Yeah. Really clean hold from Liquid. You can look at that again. So Twist is here, jiggling with the molly. Great time to be jiggling with the molly. He doesn't try to like re-peek and overdo it when he throws it. That nade just slows it down a little bit, and then skullz is just in a perfect spot. Doesn't overdo it. He does have to win that gunfight, and he certainly could have lost it. Kobe. All right. Astralis are on the Pistoleros. I don't know. I love this little play. Oh, I hate this little play. Oh my god, why would you ever make that? I hated that from the moment I saw it. I can't believe you've done that. Yeah, I do. Oh, if Device didn't get aim bunched. Yeah, so this is the problem. Device goes through underpass here. They're just playing kind of a default eco round, and this come through underpass. Oi. Yeah, stare actually. It's stare. It's Cadian. I take it all back. It's Cadian. Oh, he gets spammed? You're kidding. He just gets spammed through the fucking smoke. Oh my god. Okay. So I like this play. I like the idea of just having someone buy up an MP9, get aggressive, look to eco hunt, and get a lot of information. And when it comes down to it, this is something that really Overpass kind of showed us. Overpass, may it rest in peace, showed us is that the reality is T's, when on force buys or ecos, they simply don't have. I really love this play from Astralis, by the way. But I'll explain this. They simply don't have enough money to have all the utility to do everything. So you don't actually want to play super passive because the T's can get enough utility, for example, that if you give them banana for free, they can full exec on B with a molly here, smoke here, flashes are over. T's can have that amount of utility. That's actually not that much utility. They can certainly have that on any sort of force buy. However, they're not going to have the utility to exec B and also not die banana against aggression, not die mid against aggression. They're not going to have utility to flash off this angle. They're not going to have utility to do things like molly off apartments, right? So if you force them into these situations where they either use their util early to prevent the aggression, or they're very weak to the aggression so they can hold on to it late, or they waste the util early to deal with the aggression, or to do something like retake banana after losing it, then they don't have the exec on the site. And if they don't have a good exec, you should be able to hold relatively effectively, right? So even though in theory you should just play crossfires on site, in reality it's actually generally a lot stronger to play slightly more aggressive plays that force your opponents to utilize their utility to hold the play, or be really weak against what is for you a strong play. I really like that play from Astralis, by the way, just holding the aggression, because that was a situation where the CT was almost, I think they knew he was on A, which means he either gamble stacks B, or he pushes A, or he waits in A. And two of the three options, right, push A, gamble stack B, two of the three options lose to that kind of like delay hold play. So here, this is, I believe, Astralis' smoke towards car. Prevents most aggression, and then they just find the timing where Stair peeks out just after Yukender gets flashed in. Man, Yukender's having a tough game this time, and this is why having a lot of players banana helps. Like, they took a little bit of utility damage, not too much, but now they can pop into B, and Liquid is already looking to stack over to A, and this B pop is just going to catch them. They may as well just save here, honestly. Oh my, Cadian just dies. Oh my god, skullz. What is that? What's going on? And then, oh, Stown even pushes through. Do they have a lot of money? Ah, that's cute. Oh my god. What are you doing? What is that plant? Why was he planting? He was planting there? Was he planting? He was, what the fuck are you, bro? Bro, what are you doing, man? Oh my god. Just plant normal, dog. I guess he was, oh, you know what it was? He was worried about getting naded, wasn't it? He was worried about getting naded, so he planted in the open, and then he got fucking shot. I was thinking maybe Stown pushed through that smoke because he knew Liquid wasn't going to have a ton of money. But look, it's not that the play itself has to be good, right? Generally, right? So like, I'm not saying he's only pushing through the smoke because he knows Liquid doesn't have a lot of money, so he's trying to like hunt them down when it's still a 4v4. What I'm saying is that's a good play, and Liquid doesn't have a lot of money, which means it's an even better play potentially for him to make in this situation. A lot of players are doing that type of like flash into that smoke and then push through that smoke. I've seen Nico do it a few times. I've seen a lot of players do that type of play because CTs are so often spamming that smoke now, and because you can like break up the smoke a little bit or nading it. A lot of players are like ready and they nade it and they just kill people as they're crossing sight, stuff like that. I really do like the play of pushing it once in a while, and that's a great time to decide to push it. Similar to Liquid, Astralis are very ready to go for just basically a B hit, but they're probing in a little bit, which I do. I like. It depends on how good your first player in is. If he just dies, it's a big fucking problem. But it prevents, like, Liquid was in a setup here, specifically a setup to deal with, like, an exec, right? They had that nade on the player CT, who didn't even see the cross. You had a player playing anti-flash, right? They were really ready for the exec. So, Stair really should have got at least one kill there. You probably really should have got a killer. I mean, he had the guy on the side, right? And then Yabi, this is a different risk, right? This is just another risk because Liquid could have just had a player that just kills Yabi and then they just lose this round. I feel like this demo has turned into so much of like, guys, there is an inevitability that you could lose any round, and thereby don't play as if you can't lose. And it's just like every anti-eco is just like lose, like nearly lose, nearly lose. Wasn't the intent. I watch these. I don't like watching demos before I review them. I feel like it's like dishonest a little bit. So as you can tell, I got this demo wrong, and yeah, and I didn't know that this was gonna happen. But it's cool info anyways. Love this play from Liquid, by the way. Really love this play from Liquid. Naf's gonna die with the P250, but that's fine. The whole point was they got 3 Ts to die. 3 Ts to die. Of course, the problem is it's 11-9, which means that econ probably isn't going to end up mattering too much. But it's still a good play. Generally, it's still like a smart play. Nice little kill. Did Twist really have so little faith that he was thinking that he was going to get flanked with Cadian right there? Was he really watching? Guys, wait, hold on, sorry. Guys, bruh, what is this setup, bruh? Twist is like, well, if Cadian runs away and they come up top mid, I'm gonna get that kill. And it's like, well, but Twist, what if they come boiler and just kill skullz? Don't worry, buddy. Skullz got my back. I don't know. There must be some miscommunication there or something. I can't. That simply does not make sense to me unless there's like something weird. Oh my God, Liquid. Okay, this is egregious. Like this is just like this is a little much. If I'm being honest, this level of stacking everything is a bit much. Like teams love to stack in CS2. They love it. Most teams do. Teams just stack it up. But this is a fucking ridiculous amount of stack. They lose one. This is like the opposite Jame. Jame is like, our pit player died. Everyone come B, save. And Liquid is like, our B player died. Everyone come A, stack. Like, gamble stack. Guys, our pit player died. Everyone stack A. Our B player died. Everyone stack A. Our mid player died. Everyone stack A. Fucking Christ, man. And they still lose their whole fucking team dies. I mean, that's kind of the point. That's the point of like active stacking, like this type of activity where you stack over to, you move a player over to A. Okay, let's explain this really simply. You might have a situation where you have 3A, 2B. Okay. You might have a situation where you open around 3B, 2A. You get some level of banana control. Then you leave one player here, and you bring back 4A. Okay. Now, you can wait in this setup for a long time, and there's nothing really wrong with that. However, if this player gets, for example, pushed back, you might either rotate a player over to B quickly so that you have 2B, 3A, but this creates a problem because if your opponents have already taken mid, let's say they took mid as you were taking banana, then 2B, 3A is still a problematic setup because 3A is usually enough to hold A, but 2B is generally not enough to hold B. So without this control and without this control, you can either just allow this player to fall back, quickly rotate over, and you're in a good setup, but you're still not really in a good setup. It's still problematic. So instead, you can opt to have 4A, 1B, and quickly, as that banana control happens, not saying they're rushing banana, but let's say, a molly comes in here and a flash comes out. The type of standard, we're retaking banana because we know you had it, type of retake utility, you have 4A. Well, instead of just rotating one off, you can get aggressive, you can double push arch and like push truck, you can retake mid and then rotate 1 or 2 players back off. And let's say you retake mid and then you rotate 2 players over here, so you have 3B, 2A. You can sit in this setup for a while and stay like that, or you can sit in this setup for a little bit and then you can actually pivot over and get aggressive towards B again. The idea being that you can pivot a player over to your weak bomb site, get aggressive there, and then pivot a player back. And if the aggression runs into opponents, great, because you're stacked on that bomb site at the time. And if the aggression doesn't run into opponents, great, you've got more control, right? Why is NAF's MP9 a phone number? I'm gonna Google that. 281. That's not, like, spoiler alert. NAF is from, I believe NAF lives in BC, in Canada. 281 is not. I don't think it's a BC area code. It's not his number. I'd call that up if it was his number. Sorry, I don't know. I just took way too much time explaining like a pretty simple concept, but the idea behind the concept is not complicated. The execution of the concept is a lot harder. But I noticed that a lot of teams that want to be really good, or a lot of players that want to be really good, Cadian's starting to save, but it's 12-9. A lot of players try to be really good, and they emulate plays, but they emulate them kind of halfway. And I noticed that one of the things that happens is that good players will end up yo-yoing. So you'll have a setup where you have 2B, 3A, and then this arch player starts yo-yoing over. He moves over to B, and it's like, guys, they just took mid control, and then he moves back over to A, and it's like, they just took top banana, and he moves back over to B. They just smoked off arch again. Move back over to A. Right? You end up yo-yoing back and forth and back and forth. Instead, you can actually be a little bit more proactive in the way you're playing. You don't need to do this all the time, but a good amount of the time, it's a good idea to be just a little bit more proactive. So you make that rotate, and it's like they're taking mid control. You go, okay, let's like smoke here, molly here, smoke here, flash out. Let's take quick top banana control, like that type of thing. Prediction: Cadian loses this. Nice shot though. But prediction: he doesn't win. Because if he does win, I might be watching the right demo. Because in the demo, I thought I was going to be watching the score ended 1917 or 1614. So this is the second most recent Liquid demo. Anyways. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, though, actually, go sub to my Patreon, because I'm planning on putting demo reviews on Patreon, but I've spent all my time that I would be spending on putting demo reviews on Patreon on just making demo reviews to put on my YouTube. So sub to that, and imagine that this was a Patreon review, and so like sub to it as be like, thank you, Vu, because this was a Patreon review that you should have put on Patreon, but you gave to me for free because you knew that I was going to sub to your Patreon. Or don't. It's fine.